Okay, so I'm gonna basically just be talking about news trading in terms of just checking the news every single day before I trade. This is gonna be an extremely short video. I'm essentially just going over the site I use and then basically what I'm really looking for in terms of news that will whether impact my trading or not. So first off, the site that I use is called forexfactory.com. Again, this isn't just for Forex, obviously. This affects the entire market, whether you're trading crypto, stocks, indices, whatever you're trading. All these news uh, releases will affect depending on the currency. So this is where it's extremely important. So you want to make sure you know what currency you're trading, right? So usually if you're trading indices, anything with USD is going to affect indices. When I say indices, I mean obviously things like ETFs, so like SPY, ES, NASDAQ, NQ. You guys know the gist of that. So those ones are mainly going to be affected by the USD currency impact releases. The other ones like Canada or other ones outside of USD won't really have much of an impact for indices, right? So if you're someone that trades indices, then you want to be focusing on USD news. The next thing I really do on this website is you want to go to filter and you want to mainly just check the orange and red folders. You don't really care much about yellow or gray folders because gray typically has no impact non-economic, as you guys can see. Yellow is a very low impact, and yellow basically has no effect to your trading, right? The main ones you want to include is just the red and orange one. Event types, you want to select all of them. And then for currencies, this is where you want to select which exact currencies you trade. Personally, I just have them all checked just in case, because I do also trade Euro USD, which is obviously correlated with Euro currency. So I have that checked, and I used to trade USD JPY. So I just have everything checked. But if you only trade, for example, let's just say Euro for me and USD, I'll just only keep those and apply filter. So this filters everything out, removes all the noise. So you're seeing this every single day. I'm on incognito mode right now. So that's why it was not saved. I don't know if it actually saves on the site or not, but yeah. Usually on if you're on TradingView, usually you will see like the news uh, emoji on your TradingView chart if you have news releases enabled ahead of time. Therefore, you don't have to necessarily go on Forex Factory, but it's nice to go on Forex Factory just to see everything in case TradingView misses that news. And for me, I trade, right, 8:30 a.m. EST to 11:30 a.m. USD. That's my rough average kill zone session for New York session. For those that trade indices, your actual New York Stock Exchange bell open is at 9:30 a.m. EST. Therefore, technically, you should not be taking trades until after 9:30 a.m. EST because that's when the huge volatility comes in for indices. So this applies for people that trade ES and NQ mainly. For everyone else that trades everything else, like literally Forex, um, crypto, whatever, 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. EST is my kill zone that I mentioned to you guys. And then essentially, again, these are the names of just the news releases: PPI, core PPI, consumer sentiment, inflation. Okay, and the main one is FOMC, which is essentially at 2 p.m. EST, almost every single time, basically. So just certain times you want to have in your head, right? Majority of news releases occur at 8:30 a.m. EST, the major ones. And then the other major time is 10 a.m. And then last but not least would be the 2 p.m., which is for FOMC. So these are just the main times you want to have in the back of your mind when you're trading. Yeah, and you will see, I'll show later on my trading view, you will see these news releases will impact price and how price moves essentially within that few minutes or so. So because news releases at 8:30 a.m. EST, my trading session starts at 8:30 a.m. EST. Therefore, typically I'm chilling, right? The main thing with news is you don't want to be in a trading position when news is released, unless you're maybe swing trading. For us day traders, we don't want to be in a trade while news is being released or right before news is about to release, like maybe 5 minutes ahead or before, because news causes these huge wick spikes many oftentimes, especially if it's a red folder impact news. And what happens is these wicks can cause major slippage on your account. So if you're trading a real live account, I don't know, I'm not sure how badly the impact is on prop firms because I don't trade or I don't have my positions open during news releases. Okay, that's like gambling. But for people with unreal live accounts, you will occur most likely slippage. So definitely be careful um, when you're trading because we are trading with tight stop losses, looking for high RR trades, day trading. So we don't have these insanely big stop losses to cover these news wicks. So definitely be careful of just avoiding having trades open during news. Okay. And when I say during, I mean 5 minutes before essentially and 5 minutes after. Try not to take any trades 5 minutes before or after news because these huge spikes of volatility causes essentially messes up market structure, right? And liquidity as well, because it takes out and mitigates liquidity already. Therefore, the market is then seeking new structure to be built majority times when you see these big candles pop. So I try to avoid taking trades before and right after news. After 30 minutes or so of news, you can then safely take trades like normal. Okay. The main thing is you just want to focus on structure and how price action is developing. And if there's a setup, then you can take it. If there's not setup, you don't take it. So 8:30 a.m., 10 a.m., and at 2 p.m. are the main times. For me, 2 p.m. doesn't matter much because usually I'm off the charts already way before 2 p.m. So mainly 8:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. And let's see if I can cover anything else here. We can go to like the next day, for example, or we can go previous days if you guys want to look at previous days. You can see majority of days it is 10, 10, and 8:30. Okay. I've never heard, I guess it's the president or something. I've never heard of that. But majority of these you guys are should be pretty familiar with in terms of news names, for example, FOMC, PMI, unemployment claims, non-farm employment change, core CPI. So pretty common news release names. So just be aware of news when you're trading. And that's basically the gist of this. You basically just want to be open enough for Forex Factory, check your news right before your session, just to see if there's anything you want to avoid. Many times I would be looking at basically 10 a.m. news and keeping this in the back of my mind. I'll try to avoid having position open around this time, essentially. Okay. And most times 8:30 a.m. news is the one that's more impactful than 10 a.m. So that's also another thing to keep in mind. But yeah, basically you just want to be looking over your news every single day, looking for these orange and red folder news. Make sure you're not having any open trades during this time because you never know what could happen, right? And another thing with news is I'm not a fundamental trader. You guys know I trade purely technicals. So where it has like these forecasts, actual and previous, I don't really care much about the details behind this. And the reason why is because many times I've noticed when news comes out, for example, good, the market drops, which makes no sense, right? So it's not really correlated as well, in my opinion, from my personal experience. So I'll show you guys essentially what's going on is when news releases, there's not people there's not insider traders clicking buy or sell at 8:30 a.m. exactly. It is the market algorithm doing its job at 8:30 a.m. Each and every single time there's news releases as well as 10 a.m. right? There's no people clicking that button at that exact moment. This doesn't make any sense, right? And so now I'm gonna go on TradingView, see if I can convert to TradingView real quick here and show you guys any examples of news. If we can find any examples or not. Let me just go on my TradingView real quick. Let me see if we can find anything here. Because I think TradingView only shows future news. It doesn't have like a thing for past news. Okay. All right, we can probably go on oil. Let's see if I can find an example. Let me just convert real quick. All right. Hopefully you guys do not be seeing my trading view. Okay. My trading view right here. Yep. Okay. Perfect. All right. Yeah. So this is my trading view right here. I don't think I can find any news really on here, but real quick, if you want to enable news on your trading view, just go to events and you can tick economic events here. This shows news at the bottom. You guys can see right here. We have news right here, PPI, consumer sentiment. These are basically supposed to typically match up with Forex Factory. So you don't necessarily need Forex Factory, but it's definitely a thing to keep in mind just in case for some reason TradingView doesn't show it, right? You don't want to be blowing your account somehow because you didn't know something like this was going on. And then, oh, if you check only, uncheck only future events, then you have the past news releases right here. So that's perfect. And you could, of course, enable news notification when news releases. I don't have that enabled because that would be quite annoying to me since 8:30 a.m. is gonna alert every single time, and I just hate that. So, yeah. So you can just enable past news if you want. You can enable that because why not? Now we can see everything. And so, for example, 8:30 a.m. You can see this candle. I think this whole candle. Let me see. Hide real quick. Not that big of a candle. This is a very small news release, most likely. Okay. It's not a small news release, but it didn't have that big of an impact here. Let's see if we can find something that's more major. Nope, nope, nope. Let's see. Because I'm trying to make a point here. Because the point is that when news releases, the market already knows where it's gonna go. Everything's pre-planned. And it's all based on understanding liquidity. We're not gambling also and predicting news, by the way. News just does the movement of the market faster. So essentially, let's say, for example, I just have to find an example somewhere, but let's say, for example, the market is drawn to this liquidity here for a continuation uptrend. When news releases, it will create a huge wick here to mitigate these orders, and the body candle closure above, right? This new structure right here, right? New structure right here. And it might create a huge wick on the other side as well. So essentially, news, all it does is exponentiate the speed in which price is delivering. That is it. So if we're expecting price to mitigate this, news is most likely going to, if it's following our plan, it's most likely going to mitigate this with a wick that's extremely fast and just push up extremely fast. That's all it's doing. It's just doing the job of the market algorithm of seeking orders and filling orders, but just quadruple, maybe 10 times the speed. Because you will see this occur typically in one big candle with huge wicks as well, like huge wicks. So that's basically it for the gist of news. That's basically all news does. Just remember, news is just exponentiating the speed in which price is going to deliver. We already know where price is going to deliver with high certainty, but you don't want to be gambling on news. Okay. I had a trade somewhere. I don't know. I'll have to look on my computer somewhere because I had a trade somewhere where I did not know that news was releasing. I think it was literally like in London session or something. It was something weird. It was a weird time where it was Asia session. There's some sort of news event or something that happened, and essentially I was already in a position, right? I was already up like 7R in that position, and luckily for me, it didn't create a huge wick, and it just immediately dropped with a huge fat candle. I was in a short, it just dropped with a huge fat candle to where my original TP was. So that's what news can also do. Instead of creating a huge wick, it could also just drop or go in your favor to your TP. But we don't want to be risking that because on live accounts, that is extremely risky. You never want to be doing that. So unless the only time I could think of where you can potentially hold a trade during news is if you're, first of all, if you're in a trade and you really are extremely confident and your, let's say your stop loss is here and your TP is down here. Let's say price is already down here. Price is very close to your TP and news releases at this candle. Well, since news is so far away from your stop loss, then you could potentially re in reality hold until the news release because news will likely go towards your TP because again, all news does is exponentiate where the market is already predefined to go, where liquidity is going. That's all it does. But if you were in the position, I would still definitely move your stop loss or break even in case of slippage. What happens during on live accounts on slippages is that if for some reason news does something crazy like a candle like this, instead of you getting out at a typical 1% loss here, you could get executed all the way up here for a 4% loss, which is a huge difference. That's really bad. You never would want anything like that to happen. So the only time I would see potentially holding trades is like that through news is if you're first off, stop loss is at break even, and if your entry is already extremely far away from where price is currently at, then you can maybe potentially just hold in your TP, right, through news. But other than that, I would highly suggest avoiding news trading. It's just gambling majority of times, and I would just say you don't want to be in that situation, right? So, and that's it for this section. Real short video on news and how we need to understand how news plays a role into our daily trading.